Hello, everyone. Theresa with Garden Party. I know you're always seeing me look so disheveled and blown over. Harvest day again. It's the convenient day for me to record these in my packing shed. So it's a little hot out there. And today we're going to talk about Slaugust. And of course, if you're anywhere near a place where been a heat wave this year, which is lots of places, you know that Slaugust is even more of a slog this year. So let's talk about some strategies that will help. So today we're going to talk about some strategies that I pulled from other farmers at the recent cool flower plug pickup where I had a chance to talk to people about how they're coping with August and how they can get through it next year. And again, I want to thank Open Food Network Canada for supporting me in bringing you these videos and also the Sustainable Agricultural Partnership for funding this initiative. Way back at the beginning of the season, seems so long ago now, I did a video on starting the season right, some tips to prevent burnout when you're back in May as you're going forward. So check that out if you haven't seen that yet. But today, fast forward to the end of the season, and the tips, some are the same, some are a little bit different. One of the best tips, and we said this back in May too, invest in yourself. You've got to cocoon a little bit and think about what you need. It's so critical. And in particular, August is a good time to do workshops, to visit other farms, to go on tours. Most recently, the ASCFG, and you see their resources and a link to them there. If you're not a member, you should belong. Most recently, they hosted a Canadian farm tour at Longwoods Farm, and I couldn't go because I was doing the cool plug sale that weekend. But lots of farmers who came had just been there and they were just raving about how wonderful that was. So invest in yourself. I've also put a link here to the Open Flower Network project and various resources that will be populating on that site over the next couple of months. Tip two, we also talked about this back in May, set some boundaries. Again, you are in the driving seat of this farm side hustle, hobby, business, whatever you're in. So you can set some boundaries around it. It is absolutely fine to say no. You can draw a line and say, I'm not going to do that. It's even okay to cancel something that you're in the middle of in a pinch. Now, that's not without consequences. For example, a few weeks ago, I just couldn't take this heat anymore. And I've already decided that this is my last season selling cut flowers because I'm retiring. But I did plan on the season going out with a bang. But I was at the wall. I couldn't do it. Put up a notice, sent notices out on my social media, garden parties closing for a couple of weeks break because that's what I thought it was going to be. Couple weeks go by, it's still so hot, and I still have so much to do to get ready for exiting my operation. I just didn't think I could do it, so I ditched out of the rest of the season. Now maybe I'm going to regret that, and maybe it was okay because I'm not selling cut flowers next year because I would lose customers doing that. But I'm just saying, weigh the pluses and minuses of cutting out of something. Ditch something if you have to. Remember, it's all on your terms. And remember to keep time for yourself as well. By the time you get to August, you kind of know where your time wasters are. You know the things that are taking you so much time. Take a good hard look at them and eliminate as many of the time wasters as you can. And sometimes that's going to be simple things like not walking the same thing twice. If you need 8 buckets, take them all at once. Bundle tasks that are in the same part of the farm or tasks that are similar because you gain efficiencies that way. Make a note to self for next year to plant more of fewer things. Focusing and reducing that diversity saves you a lot of time. You don't have to think about every separate crop. Again, ditch out of something that's not selling. You know, back about 3 weeks ago, I realized I have a whole row of Famis scabiosa, and in my current markets to my current people, it just wasn't a very hot crop. So I just mowed it down, and I don't look back from that. What's the sense in having it accumulate weeds. I mean, it's fine for the pollinators. That's great. There's lots of flowers here for pollinators. But it's the weeds that would come. And then I would be just increasing the weed bank in my soil from them. So mowing it down. You can ditch out of something at any point in time and it's fine. Hire help. I hire someone just 2 days a week. I'm a very small sales this year. And yes, it really eats into my profit. But for my peace of mind, at least until I get through this transition in retirement, I need that extra time. So it doesn't have to be a full-time person you hire. You can hire someone just for a few hours a week and you'll be amazed how you get on top of things. Bear in mind that now that we're in August, it's kind of the weeding isn't so important anymore. Unless you are talking about a crop you're going to leave there and it's got weeds that are going to go to seed. In a perennial crop, you need to pay attention to that because you don't want those seeds to fall. But annual weeds, so what? The frost is going to kill them, mow them down so that they don't go to seed, and you worry about them later. Or you tarp them now and build cover crops. Let me show. So this is a place on my farm where I'm actually not going to plant it until next year because part of my retirement plan is dealing with some woody areas and things like this. And so I'm going to plant those next spring. But a few weeks back, I think about 4 weeks back, it was a weedy mess. So in this instance, I tilled it and I sowed my cover crop, and it was a mix of oats and sorghum and some other things. And honestly, you could deep dive into types of cover crops, but if you're just starting out, just keep it really simple and pick something you can get locally. Oats is a great place to start all season long, and it's really inexpensive. And they germinate well and they kill reliably over the winter, so you're not faced with crop residue next year. It's just a really good place to start. So anyway, once this cover crop got high for me, and I was 4 or 5 weeks in, um, I rolled my tractor over it. I just drove over it. You can see in the second picture it's being flattened down. You wouldn't have to do that. It's just because of the heat, my crop was too high. Uh, for if I tried to just pull the tarp over, it was going to be really hard to do. So I rolled over it to smash it down, and then I put the tarp over, and that's that third picture. It's just being held down by bricks, and it'll be fine for as long as I want. If I decide I want to plant this fall, that'll be fine. I can lift it up and do that. If I decide I don't have time, fine, I can do it in the spring. And you can use cover crops like this during your growing season. So for example, middle of August, your first crops of annuals, agrostemma, nigella, even snapdragons, your early things are done, right? Whether you have them in holes in landscape or they're just in a field, it doesn't matter. If they're in the landscape, I like to pull the plants out. Don't worry about the weeds, but pull the plants out. And then you put a layer of tarp right on top of that. And you don't have to buy silage tarps. You can just use another piece of landscape fabric that doesn't have holes, right? And just pull it right over top. So now you've got a landscape fabric on top of those weedy holes, and you leave it like that. In next spring, when you come back, voila, you will have a clear area to plant in. So you can tarp on top of landscape fabric. You could also choose to tarp for a couple of weeks, get rid of most of those weeds, sow some cover crop in those holes, and then you won't have to tarp it again. Leave it like that over the winter if you like. If you use oats, it will reliably kill. The point is, there's all kinds of possible combinations. There is no right and wrong way to do this. And if you haven't been experimenting with carping and cover cropping, I really suggest you try that out. So I mentioned hiring, but just to add a little more detail to that, doesn't have to be a part-time or full-time. It can be either. It can also be that you're outsourcing to a company. Maybe you've decided all the social media stuff, work on my website, managing my online store. I want to outsource that. I work for Open Food Network, and we have lots of farms who outsource to us. So to me, I basically manage the stores for them. So there are people there who do that as their own side hustle. And you can find those people and outsource to them. And that takes a load off. Certainly anything to do with bookkeeping and accounting is an easy outsource. And that's all stuff that's now not on your to-do list anymore. So don't forget to ask for help. You have to remember to ask because not everybody around you notices that you need help, you know? Saving time and your body, I have learned this over my 30 years here, it's a really important thing to do. You'll last longer as a farmer if you start thinking about saving your body now. And tools are how to do this. And I think we should do a whole video on tools for different scales. Um, this isn't really the place and time for that. But I want to mention two things for sure. One is carrying tools, because I think what I do most on the farm is carry things from here to there. Yes, of course, there's other things, but carrying is like every day. If I'm carrying empty buckets or full buckets, I bring full buckets back, I sort them, I wrap them, they're in the cooler. I carry from the cooler to a vehicle, from the cooler to a sales area. Besides flowers, I carry either bags or bulk loads of compost and soil. I carry big things of fertilizers or planting pots, just thinking stuff I've had this week, from the car to somewhere else. So I carry a lot. For me, you see the picture there is me carrying agrostema. I carry in the bucket of my tractor. If you don't have a tractor, think about something to carry, some kind of power assisted tool. A walk behind tiller will pull, for example, a cart. You can get a cart attachment. People use gators in various kinds of things and love them. People use skid steers. It doesn't have to be a full-size tractor. Even a lawn tractor that is pulling a dump cart. But think about carrying. The second thing I want you to think about is the hand tools. And here I'm really in the digging, cutting kind of realm. And I've gone a little bit crazy in recent years because I realize even as I retire, I won't be cutting flowers, but I'll have a lot of woodies. That's a lot of cutting. That's hard. I already get arthritis in both hands, so I'm not excited about that. And to get there for the next 3 years, I have a 4-acre site to be landscaped. That's a lot of planting, a lot of plant moving, including the division of a lot of old peony roots, which I'm going to divide. So all of that would be really hard without power hand tools. So I'm really into the new power hand tools, and let me show you a couple of them. First of all, if you don't have, this is a DeWalt brand. I'm not a commercial for DeWalt. It's just I like their brand. And once you stick with a brand, you have all the interchangeable kind of things, power packs and stuff. So these are cutters, pruners, automatic pruners. And that is just so amazing for cutting things, no wrist action or whatever. And if the thing I need to cut is a little bit bigger, a little tiny chainsaw. So very light for me to carry. And I can do all kinds of branches that are a little too big for the pruner. What about for dividing my peonies? Well, at first I used this tool for dahlias. This is what they call an multi-oscillating tool. You get various attachments, and I don't know if you can see, but that moves, and it's little, so it can get right in there in the dahlia crevices, which is great. But I found for peonies, it's not big enough. Peony roots can be really massive and hard. Baptisia roots, same thing. So I have this drill, this reciprocating saw, drill with a reciprocating saw. And I'm so in love with that. I just zoom right through the root. It's wonderful. And my last thing is, well, how can I get the power assist on the digging of holes and planting? So I've got this auger. This is from a company called Power Planter, and they have all different sizes. And it's on a big drill. And you just go down to the ground. I have to, like I say, we need a tool thing so I can demonstrate. And it does a marvelous job at hole building, hole drilling, and you can get a bigger bigger auger. This plants a 1.5 liter um, size pot. So that's amazing. So for yourself, the way I got here is I analyzed all the tasks I need to do and where can I save energy. And that's the work is great to do in August. When I was talking to people at the cool flower pickup, I was quite surprised at how many farmers are still working off the farm. And I guess I shouldn't be surprised because I work 2 days a week for Open Food Network off the farm as well. Uh, but at least I'm here. So if it's something urgent, I can leave my desk and do it. It's a slippery road when that happens. Because what I find on and off farm, your mind is divided into two very different worlds. And it's quite hard to switch back and forward. And you end up spreading mediocrity across both things because you're not really focused on what you need to be focused on. Anyway, talking to people who came this last weekend, a few of them were doing Saturday markets. And I'm like, that amazes me. You work full time off the farm, 9 to 5. And so the only days you have really to catch up on your farm work are the weekends, wherefore family time and evenings. But honestly, if your work is anything like mine, you come home kind of pooped after supper, right? Who wants to go out and start farming? And it made me think if I worked full time off the farm, the last thing I would do was decide to sell at a farmer's market on every Saturday. I wouldn't make a commitment to every Saturday. Be realistic with what you can do. No wonder you're burning out. No wonder that's a source of burnout. Pare down your markets, pare down your scale until you can put the time into it that it really takes. It's a great thing to be drawing some kind of an income while you're learning about flower farming, while you're trying different things, etc. It's a wonderful thing. But don't try to go crazy on the market thing and selling those things. You have this other source of income. You don't have to worry so much about selling flowers. Save yourself some time and some burnout by really focusing on where you want to sell, if at all, while you're working off the farm. And avoid multitasking. I am the worst for this. I think I can multitask, but I really find out that I can't. So, again, because I work in tech support for 2 days, I have my phone with me so that you ask me a question and I'm out there answering. But meanwhile, I'm supposed to be out there weeding or harvesting flowers or moving landscape fabric or using some of my new tools to plant a bed. And that switch between one thing and another thing, I think it does something to my brain. I think it adds a certain stress. It's like now I'm doing this, now I'm doing this, now I have to refocus. I maybe feel busier than I really am. So try this. This is my new thing. I'm going to put windows around when I go to the phone, in other words, when I respond to an email, when I respond to a message, when I do my posting. I'm going to put all those things in a box. And Thursday afternoon, Thursday afternoon and Monday morning, pick 2 times a week. And those are the times I'm going to respond. How necessary is it to respond instantly to a message just because you can? I'm not sure it's that important. I'm not sure waiting a couple hours is going to make a big difference to the person who's waiting for the response. So it's just an example of where I think I can stop trying to multitask so much. And I think that will contribute more to my sense of peace on the farm. And finally, this is a time in August to reinvent, to be thinking now about next year and what you're going to do differently. Which crops are standing there that aren't selling? Which things, because more isn't better. More is only better if it's selling. So if there's something you're running out of, well, plant more of that. But have you got things standing in your field now? I certainly do. Marigolds standing there. Why would I ever grow marigolds again? So cut the things that are just standing there because they took your time to seed and to plant and to tend and to irrigate. Save all that and really focus on the things that are selling. Try to spread the workload across the seasons if you can, so that everything isn't happening in the spring. This is where cool flowers is such a good thing, and there's a video on that if you haven't seen that, because now you've got some planting that's happening in the next couple of weeks here, and that will save me next spring, because next spring when it's also crazy and I've got to get things in the ground and I've got trays of plugs that have to be potted up, but it's not good planting weather yet, all of that may stress. I can say to myself, but you've got your cool flowers in and they're doing fine. So I'm going to have things. It's sort of the same thing with perennials, right? It's a load off your mind because you don't have to do it all in the spring. Now, those things create other work. It's not that they're without work. It means that this time of year, late August and September, you have a peak of work to happen, dividing perennials and planting your cool flowers. But you've kind of spread out the work because I don't have other planting that can happen anymore now. And like I said before, the weeding is kind of not a priority right now. August, in some ways, even though we call it Slaugust, is a slower month with work, higher month with harvesting and sales, slower month with that ongoing work. So you can spread that ongoing work and bring some of it into August and September, for example. When I got ready to retire, I started to realize that there are so many kinds of flower farms. And I think we get caught into thinking that we're all doing the same thing. And really, if you can start doing something differently and carve out the kind of flower farm you want to be that works for you and define what success works for you, then that is going to go a long way for preventing burnout. So when I was thinking of retiring, at first, I was thinking I would still do some aspect of my farm, just not as much. In other words, I would focus and I would just do one thing. And so I ran a whole bunch of business plans. I mean, I can't tell you how much time I spent doing this. So I ran a whole bunch of numbers to see, well, what makes me the most money? Well, what do I mean by the most money? Well, arbitrarily, just totally me, arbitrarily, I said if I can't net, so not gross sales, but net after all my costs, if I can't net $10,000 in a season, again, arbitrary number for me, it's not worth doing anything. So that was the test I was trying to say. Either I can make $10,000 and it's easier work than what I have right now, or I'm not going to sell cut flowers. So I went through a whole bunch of possibilities and business plans to see. And again, this would be really market specific and really specific to how much work you're prepared to put in. For me, I'm not prepared to do weekends anymore. That's one of the key reasons I'm retiring. Um, I want my weekends back. I haven't had my weekends for all the years I've been a farmer, and I want them back now. So that was a make it or break it kind of thing. I'm not going to add new infrastructure. That was another rule, right? So I had these various rules as I went through this analysis. So I thought of several things. What if I still just do designers and just do the farm stand and I don't do anything else that I do? Well, in the end, that would certainly make my economic goal. But to run a farm stand, that really puts me back with weekends. And so then I thought, what if I just did the designers? Yeah, but now what I'm doing, I still have to plant all the same diversity. And so I want to get away from that. So I eliminated those things. What if I just do it yourself buckets? Because I like doing do it yourself buckets. In my view, do it yourself buckets have been the cash cow for me. They have been easy to do. But they've been easy to do because I have a huge farm and lots of diversity. I don't think they would be so easy to do if I didn't plant that diversity again. So I eliminated that. You pick. You pick only has also been good for me. What if I just did you pick? And this was very tempting until I ran the numbers. How many people can I host here at once? How many sessions can I have a day? How many days a week? And what am I going to charge each person? Well, it turns out if I crunch the numbers, because weekends, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, are the peak times for Pick Your Own, unless I'm doing at least half of the weekends in a season, I can't net $10,000. So that idea went out because it doesn't meet my first rule. I'm not working weekends. What if I grew focals only and sold focals only? That was very appealing. That would cut down on the diversity. I'm growing the highest value cash crop. I crunched the numbers with my existing designers. I don't think I would quite make the economic goal, but it's not to say I couldn't, but I would have to kind of scale up and I would have to go back to adding more designers into the mix, maybe selling in a flower hub, etc. And that felt like an expansion of digital infrastructure. So I eliminated that option. And then the last two, honestly, both of these made all my criteria. Was really close. So growing whites and blush buckets only. This really appealed to me. And the numbers looked really good. Why? Because every florist, whether they're a designer or a flower shop, and every do it yourself bride, pretty much wants a white and blush bucket. As much as I hate growing blush, the thing is, it's what everybody wants. So this was an appealing thing, and the numbers looked very good on this. I eliminated it because I think it would involve some delivery. Delivery is one of the things I'm trying to get away from. So I eliminated it. But think about this and run the numbers for you because this could be a good thing. And then the last thing that I still think is very appealing, and I may come back to this, is a farm that is spring and fall only. In the spring, I could have the do-it-yourself tulips, uh, capture Mother's Day in the spring, which I have been able to do very well in recent years, given the greenhouse I have. Um, that would be a big thing. So spring, and it could be do-it-yourself peonies. I have all the peonies. I have the lupins and the perennials for June. So the spring ends in June. Then the farm closes, and then we reopen for fall. And I have the dahlias, late lisianthus. Don't try to get the lisianthus for August, but really get them for September. And decorative crops, could look at the fall mums if I wanted. I was uncertain about that, chrysanthemums and so forth. So I think this is a really interesting plan for me, and I think it suits me. It is some weekends still, but only in the shoulders there. Uh, and I think I could live with that. Absolutely, the economics looked good on paper. It's not a huge infrastructure addition to what I have. So what this all led me to do is rethinking my next year. I am still going to take a year without cutting flowers. I need that sabbatical. I need some clarity. I need some distance to think. But if I come back, this is kind of the direction I'm going to go. And I'm sharing all this because my situation is totally different. This isn't directly relevant to you in a way, but it means it's the kind of thing you can do in August is sit down and run the numbers and think about the kind of farm you want to be, the kind of goals, the kind of things that are givens that you're not going to trade away. Do it now when you're in the mind to do it. If you do it in March, you're going to be really optimistic. Do it now when you can be real and plan what you're going to do next year. Thank you for listening. And just in case you aren't familiar with the Open Flower Network project, this was a 2-year project that is coming to an end. And before it ends, though, we will be putting all of the resources in a series of what we're calling resource packages on our website. So one of those packages is starting out, for example, and it will have a bunch of starting out resources and so forth. So where to keep in touch with all of this, you go to the Open Food Network page, openfoodnetwork.ca. When you go there, you will see a shopping site. That's the Open Food Network trading site. But if you look at the menu and you go to the About tab, then you will go to projects. And under projects, you will see several projects going on, one of which is the Open Flower Network. So go there and keep in touch because over the next 6 months or so, we will be launching resource packs. You can also subscribe to the newsletter and then you'll get a 411 about that. Thank you so much for your attention. Get through the rest of August, breathe deep, and think about your next year.